The Q&A. At school... Okay. Which sentence mixing are you most proud of? The sentence mixing on Goodnight Hackney by Vindasnatch, especially Eminem's verse, because with Mick and Mark I'm more familiar with the sources, so I have a better idea in my head of where exactly to go to find certain syllables, but if it's an unfamiliar source it's especially difficult. And of course, fitting the sentence mixing onto a beat also requires that you sort of make a lot of executive decisions on which part of a word to cut out so that it stays on time, which is not always easy. Are you living in my walls? Well, if I'm living in them, then they're not really just your walls anymore, right? They're like, so no, I guess, is my answer. What's the best way to get children writing? With threats of physical violence, I'm told. What was your first YTP? My first YTP is still on this channel. It's actually the first video I ever uploaded, and I have kept it up all these years because I'm so proud of it, and it holds up, and I love it, and you should too. What is your favorite joke in any YTP? Well, if a running joke counts, like a joke that spans multiple YTPs, then it would be the workers being mutilated and killed in horrible ways joke in the Wow It's Made series by Da Things. However, if it has to be just a standalone joke, then at the moment it is the joke in Look at This Corn emoji, by Sawtooth Waves, where Sprout says irrational state and then it zooms in on Florida. And it seems like such a basic, like, pun level joke, and for some reason I just find it really funny. Right now, at least. I'm sure in a year I will still find it just as funny as I do now, because that's the way it works. I'm wearing a hat now. How does it feel to chuck steaks for 7 years straight? Are you from the future? Do we have rolling boats in 2023? No, but seriously, it is magical, I would say. I'm quite proud of a lot of the stuff that I've done on this channel, but more than that, just being part of the Rosen community it's been a consistent source of fun for all the time that I've been in it, which was before I even started making videos. I was watching the Rosen YTPs for probably a few years, and the whole time it's just been like, wow, this is... There's an energy to this. There's a sort of... Which is probably the case with every fandom, right? Like, the people who are in it think that it's this special, great place. That's why they're there. But in this case, it's actually true, obviously. Congratulations. Horn. Horn indeed. Hollywood 6 when? Well, when they get a new D, or find the old one. No, I mean, it all depends on how complex I want the story, in air quotes. I could just, no, to be, and how much stuff I want to list. So I really can't say, but I'm probably going to release it as my 10,000 subscriber special. So, hit that subscribe! Are Michael and older Rosen still underwater? Well, no, the current is too strong for that. How much steak can Chuck Steak chuck if Chuck Steak could chuck steak? Well, let's say that every steak chucked stays chucked post-chuck. Let's also say that no steak gets stuck mid-chuck. The steaks, my claim states, stay safe. No stucking when chucking, no breaks for steaks. Should a steak unchuck, a nunchuck would break it, so none chucked would unchuck. These are the stakes. Given all that, I'm gonna say 4. Point. Congratulations! Exclamation point. Exclamation point indeed. How did you decide your channel name? Well, I wish I could take credit for that, but it was actually Jesus who told me about it. At a bar. In Wisconsin. Why am I adding more details to this obviously false story? Are there any new sources you plan to use for your videos? Well, for main sources, no. I think I'm just going to stick with Mick, Mark, and Or till I die. But for just little sources that I use here and there for random videos, yeah, I'm probably going to keep doing those. I can't say what they'll be, just whatever catches my fancy. But yeah, definitely going to use new sources whenever... What's a different way of phrasing that? Whenever it tickles my panda. Which of your videos was your favorite to make? Hands down, Here It's Made. When making it, it was just a blast. There was never that moment that sometimes happens when you're making a YTP where it's like, I'm not having fun doing this. Like, this is not an enjoyable activity. That never happened. It was always just, the jokes just kept pouring out, because a lot of them were already made for me, and it was very entertaining. Like, it was funny to me to go back and watch what I had done so far, and I laughed at it, which I guess should be the standard, but sometimes I've, like, watched it and sort of nitpicked it so much that by the time it's finished, I'm like, I don't really... I'll upload it. And speaking of which, which is the one you're the most happy with when it was finished? That one's gonna have to go to the Michael Rosen live stream, because that was a monster to make, and it wasn't always a blast. It was sometimes, syncing things up and, like, trying to time all the conversations in the background and all that. It wasn't always the most fun thing to make, but the finished product is, I would say, the video I'm most proud of on my entire channel. I love it. Congrats on 1K, man. I know, it's like, I have an entire kilogram of subscribers. It's extraordinary. Do eggs? Don't they? What editing app do you use? Good question. He still uses iMovie in 2022. I mean, bruh, he been using the same software since 2016. 2015, actually. I started making videos and just sort of having them on the computer before I started uploading them. But the first one I ever made was still the first one I uploaded, as previously mentioned. And yes, I do indeed use iMovie. iMovie 11, in fact. So, cutting edge of modern science. GG on 1K, Mr. Steak. I was your 1000th sub. That's not ideal. Here is a question for that Q&A. Why this name, Chuck Steak? Well, a man you may have heard of, the Right Honourable Sir George H.W. Carlin, once had a bit where he complains about people who he thinks ought to be killed. And in that bit, he says Chuck Steak in just this kind of weird, bizarre, funny way, and he makes a funny face while doing it. And in fact, my profile picture is a snapshot of him in the middle of saying Chuck Steak, which is why the face is so weird, because he just goes like, I can't do it. And I just found it funny, and I thought, oh, it's a name, and it could be my name. And it is. And the reason I went with that instead of anything else that I find funny is, of course, I don't know. One question, name or instruction? Name weekdays, instruction Saturdays and Sundays. P.S. Huge congrats on 1K. I know. Can just do this 41 more times. I'll have an entire marathon of subscribers. I just noticed this. Congrats on finally making it to 1K. You deserve it. Well, there's no limit to what I think I deserve, but thanks anyway. Is there anything you wish you could do differently? I'm certain you're content with how things are right now, but I'm curious to hear what things you think you want to improve on. What things I think I want to improve on. Well, one thing that I wish I was better at was the sort of fast-paced, sort of disjointed, can't even comprehend all the jokes that are coming at you at once style of YTP that I think if you watch my videos, you'll sort of see that I do try to incorporate that, but I can't do it nearly to the degree that a lot of other YTPers do. And so that's something that I wish I could do better. I also think it would be cool to actually be a YTP source myself. In some other life, I guess. Why does anything exist at all? Why does anything exist at all? Abs up in here. Abs up in here. Huh. You know, I've never actually tried to sound out your name before. I had no idea it was like a bunch of different words. And I guess it makes sense because it's like a Dragon Ball thing. So it's like, oh, muscles. Here are a few questions. You don't have to answer them all. I do. You know I do. What was the biggest missed opportunity for a joke you saw after uploading a video, or a missed opportunity to make an existing joke funnier? Or do you just incorporate it into the next video since you mostly stick with the same sources? Yeah, no, I don't really think about the previous video that I did or what jokes I could have used. I guess like for stuff like maybe in Rosen is God, when I accidentally didn't put the D sound in front of the E. That's not really a joke though, that's more like a mistake that I wish I'd noticed before I'd uploaded it. But yeah, I mostly just start, you know, thinking about the next project, or maybe I just, you know, take a break from YTP for a while after uploading a video. I don't really ruminate on my previous uploads. In your opinion, what makes a good joke/sentence mix? There are a lot of things that people laugh at, but it seems like the kinds of jokes in YTP only cover a small subset of these. I know a lot has been said about what makes things funny in general, but what makes YTP funny specifically? Well, I can't really speak with any confidence about that. I'm not like a psychologist or anything, but I would say probably the thing about YTP is just the complete absurdity of it. There's no connection to the real world. Like, nothing has to obey any sort of rules of narrative, for example. Nothing has to really make sense or hang together in any cohesive way. It's just complete glitch underneath the map and see this cartoonish... I'm still wearing it, by the way. This just utterly disconnected world where nothing means anything and nothing is ever made sense of. And I personally love it. Like, those are my favorite kinds of YTPs. So maybe that's it. Or maybe Urgle grew. YouTube poop can mean different things to different people. How would you define YouTube poop? I would define it as a kind of video where you take an existing source and edit it. But the editing has to be creative to count. And I mean that literally, as in it has to create something that's not in the original source. Like having them say things that they didn't originally say. That's what sentence mixing is, right? Or change the pitch of the characters' voices. For example, if you're doing a Michael Rosen YTP and he's playing all these different characters, you like make one of them high-pitched and one of them low-pitched, that kind of thing. And, you know, let's maybe that definition could be amended. Like, for example, if someone does a compilation video of some show where they're like showing clips back to back of like what a character says versus what they do, maybe if it's a drama where the characters lie a lot, like that's a kind of creative editing. Like, that's not really in the show. So, you know, where do you draw that line? I don't know. That's for Slavoj Žižek to worry about. And finally, when editing, do you blast through a video all in one sitting or keep coming back? Depends, really. Both at different times. Sometimes both in one video. Like for the No Breathing Lost Pilot episode, I sort of like kept doing little tiny pieces over the course of several days, and then one day I just sort of got into it and did the entire rest of the video. I would say 90% of that video was done on one day, and the other 10 took a week. And then, yeah, sometimes I'll just go... Probably very few videos I've done in one sitting. That's... Unless they're short. I think even when I'm feeling really inspired, I can't really do a video in just one sitting. But, yes, sometimes I definitely get a lot more done than at other times. Sometimes I just, like, pick around and can't really think of anything to do. And then other times it's just like... Like a bunch of hands coming off of a head or something, you know? Inspiration. And, yeah, sometimes I get, like, a minute or more of video done in just one day or one sitting. And then sometimes I'm like, you know, just a few seconds or Maybe nothing at all. Maybe I just like watch it and try to think of, you know, what comes next, and I just can't. And then I just stop. So thank you everybody for your questions. Here's to the next 1,000, hopefully with an actual video to celebrate when that happens, if that happens, when that happens. And stay nice, my friends. It doesn't work if you don't have that accent. Damn it.